The hospital corridor was unnaturally quiet, the kind of silence that only existed after midnight. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, reflecting off polished floors that smelled faintly of antiseptic. Dr. Emily Carter stood outside operating room 3, scanning the final chart on her tablet. She was 37, precise, composed, and exhausted in the way only surgeons understood. In 5 minutes she would be scrubbed in. Nothing outside that door mattered. The elevator chimed. Ryan Whitmore stepped out with the confidence of someone who had never waited his turn. His tailored coat was expensive, his expression impatient. A woman followed him, holding her arm dramatically, though there was no swelling, no blood. Ryan's eyes locked onto Emily. "You," he said sharply. "She needs to be seen immediately." Emily glanced once, assessing without emotion. "Minor abrasion. Triage will handle it. I'm scheduled for surgery." Ryan laughed softly. "You don't get it. My father runs this hospital." Emily met his gaze, unshaken. "Then he should appreciate procedure." The smile vanished. Ryan stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You're embarrassing me." Emily turned back toward the operating room. Pain exploded behind her knee. She collapsed forward, her tablet skidding across the floor as shock stole her breath. Gasps echoed down the corridor. Ryan stood over her, rage unchecked, his foot pulling back as if the first blow hadn't satisfied him. "Step away." The voice was calm. Controlled. Ryan turned. A tall man in a dark security uniform stood several feet away, posture relaxed but immovable. His name badge read, Jack Morales. His eyes were steady, observant, trained. "This doesn't concern you," Ryan snapped. Jack took one step forward. "It concerns me now." Ryan scoffed. "Do you know who my father is?" Jack nodded once. "Yes." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't touch Ryan. He didn't need to. Something in his stillness triggered instinct. Ryan hesitated, then backed away, masking fear with arrogance. "This isn't over," he muttered, retreating toward the elevators. Jack knelt beside Emily. "Can you move?" She nodded slowly, pain sharp but contained. As he helped her up, Jack's eyes lifted briefly to the security camera above them. A red light blinked steadily. Jack straightened. He already knew this night wouldn't end here. Morning arrived without apology. The hospital buzzed with its usual rhythm, as if nothing had fractured beneath the surface. But consequences were already moving, quiet and deliberate. Dr. Emily Carter sat in a narrow conference room, her knee wrapped, her posture rigid. Across from her sat 3 administrators. At the center was Thomas Whitmore, the hospital director. Ryan's father. His tone was calm, his expression sympathetic in a way that felt rehearsed. "You left your assigned responsibility," Thomas said evenly. "I was entering surgery," Emily replied. Thomas nodded politely. "That's one interpretation." The outcome had been decided before she entered the room. Temporary suspension. Internal review. Possible referral to the medical board. The language was clean, professional, devastating. Emily left with her badge still clipped on, her career suddenly uncertain. Jack Morales received his notice an hour later. His supervisor avoided eye contact. "Administration has terminated your contract," he said quietly. "Effective immediately." Jack nodded. He'd expected it. "Reason?" he asked. "Excessive force. Liability risk." Jack placed his radio on the desk, unclipped his badge and folded his jacket neatly over his arm. He walked out without argument. A nurse looked away as he passed. A janitor gave a subtle nod. Outside, Jack paused beneath the overhang and looked back at the glass building. Power never protected the right thing. Only itself. Emily found him there minutes later, moving carefully. "They suspended me," she said. "They fired me," Jack replied. "They're threatening my license." Jack's jaw tightened. "They're cleaning up." That evening, the hospital released a neutral memo, erasing the incident with polished language. Meanwhile, Jack sat at his kitchen table, a laptop open. Before returning his access, he'd copied fragments of security footage. Short gaps. Missing minutes. Cameras that failed too precisely. He reviewed everything slowly. Patterns emerged. Late-night deliveries. Service entrances. Vehicles appearing without logs. Jack documented each detail, saving duplicates. Habit from another life. Emily didn't know yet. By midnight, Jack understood the truth. This wasn't retaliation. It was protection. Jack worked patiently. He enhanced partial frames, sharpening reflections until license numbers became readable. The same vehicles appeared repeatedly, always during narrow windows when cameras went offline. He followed their route from a distance, careful not to be seen. The warehouse sat beyond the industrial district, unmarked, active at night. Jack watched as insulated containers were unloaded with deliberate care. No paperwork. No signatures. Just timing. Emily joined him days later, her suspension settling into something heavier than shock. She examined the images closely, pointing out inconsistencies others would miss. Labels nearly correct. Codes slightly off. Temperature markers used for sensitive medical material. These shouldn't exist, she said quietly. Not without records. They traced the trail through waste contractors and false manifests. Behind a processing facility, Jack photographed biohazard containers with broken seals and non-existent lot numbers. Everything was documented. Nothing disturbed. They gathered testimony without names. A resident who sent one message then deleted it. A technician who nodded once and said nothing more. Jack logged patterns, not accusations. By week's end, the picture was complete. Unauthorized medical transport. Falsified records. A system operating beneath oversight, protected by influence. Jack sent the evidence beyond hospital administration, beyond local pressure. He included no opinions. Only facts, timelines, proof. Encrypted. Duplicated. The response came quickly. Emily received a call from a state investigator the next morning. Her tone was precise, dangerous. A formal review had begun. Emily closed her eyes, not in relief but understanding. Inside the hospital, tension spread. Meetings were canceled. Files requested twice. Thomas Whitmore checked his phone too often. Ryan noticed staff no longer deferred. Jack noticed the unmarked car near his apartment. The silent calls. He wasn't surprised. They're nervous, he told Emily. That means it's working. Justice never rushed. It prepared. The arrests came quietly. No sirens. No spectacle. Unmarked vehicles rolled into service entrances as investigators moved with calm authority. Emily stood near the surgical wing, white coat returned to her shoulders. Fear no longer lived in her chest. Resolve did. Thomas Whitmore was escorted from an administrative meeting, his composure cracking under the weight of documented truth. Questions were answered with dates. Influence collapsed under evidence. Ryan arrived too late. Demands failed. Names meant nothing now. By evening, the warehouse was sealed. Contracts revoked. Records aligned once examined honestly. What thrived in silence could not survive scrutiny. Emily testified when asked. Calm. Precise. Her restraint carried weight. Her suspension was lifted days later. The complaint withdrawn. She returned to surgery without applause. Just nods. Jack was never called publicly. The evidence spoke clearly. He accepted a role with an independent oversight unit. He declined recognition. Weeks later, Jack walked past the hospital beneath clear skies. Emily exited the staff entrance. Their eyes met. No words were needed. Jack continued forward. Some battles ended loudly. The important ones ended right.